Welcome back, everybody. It's time for us to jump back into Atomic Habits. You know, this deep dive has been, I don't know about you, but for me, it's been just as much about self-deprecation as self-improvement.
Well, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and maybe some of us are still trying to tie our shoes.
Oh, speaking of tying our shoes,
Yeah.
remember when we tried to make habits attractive? I am still finding almonds that I stashed around the house during that phase. Like my commitment to snack hiding clearly outweighed my actual snacking.
It's an endearingly human approach to behavior change. We're just trying to outsmart our own wiring.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of beautiful, lazy wiring, we even explored how to leverage that to our advantage, becoming productively lazy, as James Clear calls it.
It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Right.
Designing environments to make the good choices the default.
So true. But now it is time to level up. We're diving into the advanced tactics section where we go from good habits to great ones. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely. This is where we really fine-tune our systems and unlock our full potential.
Okay, then let's jump right in. Chapter 19 is all about something Clear calls the Goldilocks rule. Now, before you picture a cozy bedtime story, remember, we're talking habits here, not porridge.
The Goldilocks rule is about finding that sweet spot of challenge where we're fully engaged and motivated.
So not too easy, not too hard. Just, right? Kind of like how I approach flossing. One tooth is my Goldilocks zone, apparently. But seriously, how does this actually work in practice?
Well, think about it like this. We need a certain level of challenge to enter what's called a flow state.
Okay, flow state. Isn't that like being in the zone?
Yeah.
Where you're totally focused and time kind of seems to disappear.
Exactly. It's when we're most productive and creative. But here's the key. Flow requires a task that stretches our abilities just enough without overwhelming us.
So if task is too easy, we get bored.
Yeah.
But if it's too hard, we get discouraged. The Goldilocks zone is where the magic happens.
Precisely. And the sweet spot is different for everyone. It's about gradually increasing the difficulty as we master a skill. Think of it like leveling up in a video game.
So instead of staying on the beginner setting forever, we need to keep progressing to those more challenging levels to keep things interesting and stimulating.
And by doing so, we not only improve our skills, but also tap into that powerful flow state where we're truly engaged and performing at our best.
This is making me think about my morning writing routine.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty good at getting up and writing for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But lately, it's felt a little, well, robotic. Maybe I need to up the ante.
That's great awareness.
Yeah.
Perhaps setting a higher word count goal or trying a new writing style would provide the challenge you need to reignite that flow.
I like that challenge accepted. But I have to ask, didn't we spend like the first half of this book trying to make habits easy? Now we're intentionally making things harder?
Well, there's a progression. We start by making good habits effortless, but then we need to push beyond our comfort zones to achieve mastery.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So we're evolving from habit toddlers to habit teenagers, pushing those boundaries a bit. But I have a feeling there's more to it than just increasing difficulty. All right.
You're right, because here's the thing. Even good habits can have a downside. And that's what we'll explore in the next chapter.
Wait, what? There's a dark side to good habits. Now I'm really intrigued.
Spill the tea. Let's just say there are some potential pitfalls to be aware of, things that can turn our helpful habits into obstacles if we're not careful.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. Tell me more about this downside to good habits.
Well, think about it. When a habit becomes automatic, we're basically running on autopilot. And while that frees up mental space for other things, it can also lead to complacency.
Complacency. So even if a habit is good, it can stop us from growing and evolving if we're not paying attention.
Exactly. We can become so comfortable with our routines that we stop questioning their effectiveness. We get stuck in our ways.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential problem here.
Yeah.
It's like when you've been driving the same route to work for years, and then one day you discover a shortcut that saves you 15 minutes. You were so used to the old way that you never even considered there might be a better option.
That's a perfect analogy. Or imagine a chef who always follows the same recipe. It's good, but maybe with a few tweaks, it could be extraordinary.
So how do we avoid falling into this habit rut? Do we need to constantly be changing things up?
Not necessarily changing, but definitely reviewing and refining. And that's where the concept of habit reviews comes in, something James Clear introduces in Chapter 21.
Habit reviews.
Yep.
Sounds a bit formal, doesn't it? Like a performance evaluation for our daily routines.
Think of it more as a checkup. Just like we go to the doctor for regular physicals, we need to give our habits a regular once-over to make sure they're still serving us well.
So we're not just setting and forgetting our habits. We're actively monitoring and adjusting them as we grow and evolve.
Exactly. It's about continuous improvement. And we'll delve deeper into how to do that effectively in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, this is already making me rethink my whole approach to habits. And I'm definitely going to need to schedule a performance review for my snack hiding strategy. Who knows what other treasures I might uncover?
Well, let's be honest. You know, those hidden snacks, they're probably contributing more to your sense of domestic adventure than to your actual nutrition at this point.
Oh, touche. Okay, back to those habit reviews. I'm intrigued, but also a little intimidated. Where do we even begin?
Well, it's actually simpler than you might think. James Clear suggests asking yourself a few key questions about each habit.
Hit me with those questions. I'm ready to put my habits on trial.
All right, first, is this habit still helping me achieve my goals? You know, habits should serve us, not the other way around. Sometimes we outgrow them or our goals shift.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's like clinging to those size 2 jeans from high school. Aspirational, but not exactly practical anymore.
Exactly. Then ask, is there a more effective way to do this? We might discover, new techniques or technologies that can optimize our habits.
Ooh, like upgrading from dial-up to high-speed internet for our routines. So what's the third question?
Okay, this one's important. Are there any unintended negative consequences that I haven't considered? Sometimes habits have ripple effects that we just don't anticipate.
Okay, that's getting real. So a habit that seems positive on the surface could be like secretly sabotaging us in other areas of life.
It's possible. For example, working late every night might boost productivity, but could also harm relationships or health in the long run.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. These habit reviews sound like a really powerful tool for self-reflection. But let's get practical. Can you walk me through an example?
Absolutely. Let's take your morning writing routine. You mentioned it felt a bit stale. We could start by asking, is this habit still supporting your writing goals?
Well, my goal is to write a novel, and consistency is key. So in that sense, yes, the habit is helpful, but I'm not sure it's really pushing me to improve my craft.
That's an excellent point. So next question, is there a more effective way to do this? Perhaps incorporating specific writing exercises or joining a critique group could help elevate your writing.
Oh, those are great ideas. I tend to get stuck in my own little bubble, so feedback and new techniques would definitely be beneficial.
And finally, any unintended negative consequences. Does your morning writing cut into sleep or family time? Finding that balance is key.
That's a good question. I haven't noticed any major downsides yet, but it's definitely something to be mindful of as I increase my writing time.
You see, by systematically reviewing your habits, you gain valuable insights and make adjustments that optimize your progress.
This is so eye-opening. It's like taking our habits from autopilot to manual control. We become active participants in our own growth.
Precisely. And as we refine our habits, we're also refining our identity.
Oh, that reminds me. We can't forget about the mind-blowing concept of identity-based habits from Chapter 22. This one really got me thinking.
Yeah, it's such a powerful idea. The habits we cultivate ultimately shape who we become. It's not just about doing, it's about being.
Right. Remember my friend Sarah, who totally transformed into a minimalist queen. She shifted her identity and then her environment followed suit.
Exactly. By embodying the identity of a minimalist, she naturally adopted the habits that aligned with that belief.
But isn't that kind of putting the cart before the horse? Shouldn't the actions come first and then the identity follows as a result?
It can work both ways. But what's fascinating is that by consciously choosing an identity, we prime ourselves to act in ways that support that vision.
So it's like we're reverse engineering our habits by starting with the end in mind. We're not just saying, I want to be more organized. We're declaring, I am an organized person.
And that declaration becomes a guiding force influencing our choices and actions.
It's like choosing a character class in a video game. Once you pick warrior or mage, your skills and actions just naturally align with that role.
What a brilliant analogy. It's about embracing the identity we want to cultivate and letting our habits flow from that core belief.
This whole concept is mind-blowing, yet feels so intuitively, right? Like we've all had those moments where we step into a certain role or identity and suddenly we feel more capable and confident.
Absolutely. Think about how you feel when you're all dressed up for a special occasion.
Right.
The clothes influence your posture, your demeanor, even your thoughts.
Oh, that's so true. Suddenly, I'm not just me in a fancy dress. I'm like the elegant host or the confident speaker. And that shift in self-perception actually impacts my behavior.
Exactly. We can harness this same power with our habits. By embracing the identity we want to create, we unlock a new level of motivation and commitment.
This is incredibly empowering. So if I want to become a runner, it's not just about lacing up my shoes and hitting the pavement. It's about seeing myself as a runner, even if I'm currently more of a I run to catch the bus kind of person.
Precisely. You start by embodying the identity even in small ways. You buy running shoes, you research training plans, you tell people you're training for a race. These actions reinforce the belief, and the belief fuels the actions.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We become what we believe we are. This is seriously making me rethink my entire approach to self-improvement.
And that's the beauty of exploring these advanced tactics. It's about going beyond surface-level changes and tapping into the deeper layers of our beliefs and motivations.
This has been such an insightful, deep dive into the psychology of habit change. We've gone from making habits easy to adding challenge to reviewing and refining, and now to anchoring them to our very identity.
It's a holistic approach that recognizes the interconnectedness of our actions, our beliefs, and ultimately our sense of self.
But I have a feeling there's even more to uncover. What else can we expect from this advanced tactics section?
Well, James Clear delves into the importance of finding our tribe, designing systems for accountability, and even leveraging technology to automate our habits. It's about creating an environment that supports our growth at every level.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling so inspired to level up my habits and step into the best version of myself.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
There will be setbacks and challenges along the way. But by applying these strategies and staying committed to the process, we can unlock incredible possibilities.
So we've really dug deep into this whole idea of habits, right? We talked about the Goldilocks rule and finding that sweet spot. Then we got into those habit reviews. And whoa, those identity-based habits. Mind-blowing.
It's been a wild ride through Atomic Habits, that's for sure. But even with all this talk about advanced tactics, I still feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Totally.
Right.
How do we actually make this stuff work in real life? It's easy to get all fired up about the theory, but then real life happens and it's like back to square one.
Yeah, that's where the real challenge lies. Luckily, James Clear doesn't just leave us hanging. He gives us tons of practical tips for making these ideas stick. Like he talks about designing our environment to support good habits.
So it's not just about willpower. It's about setting ourselves up for success.
Exactly. Make it easy to do the right thing and a little harder to do the wrong thing.
So if I'm trying to eat healthier, I shouldn't bury the fruit in the fridge. I should put it out on the counter where I can see it. No more hiding those snacks.
Exactly. Or if you're trying to cut back on screen time, you could try leaving your phone in another room while you're working.
Simple but effective. I love it. It's all about being proactive.
And James Clear doesn't stop there. He talks about the power of community, finding your tribe,
Surrounding yourself with people who get it, people who will cheer you on and hold you accountable.
Exactly. We all need that support system, especially when things get tough.
It's like having a personal trainer for your habits, someone to keep you motivated and on track.
What a great analogy. And speaking of support, there's also technology. Don't underestimate the power of apps and tools.
Oh, yeah. Technology can be a game changer when it comes to building good habits. There are apps for everything these days. Tracking your progress, automating tasks, sending reminders. It's amazing.
It's like having a personal assistant for self-improvement right in your pocket.
I'm so pumped right now. It feels like we have this whole arsenal of strategies and resources to help us level up our lives.
And the best part is you don't have to do it all at once. Start small, experiment. Find what works for you.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Always learning, always growing.
Exactly. There's always something new to discover about yourself and how you can become the best version of you.
Well, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive into Atomic Habits. It's been amazing.
And we've had some fun along the way, too.
Absolutely. Because who says self-improvement can't be fun? Sometimes you just got to laugh at yourself.
Exactly. It's all about enjoying the process and celebrating those wins, big and small.
But as much as we've loved exploring this book, it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Next week, it's the grand finale.
We'll be recapping all the key insights from Atomic Habits, sharing our own personal takeaways, and answering your burning questions.
It's going to be epic, so make sure you tune in for one last hurrah.
And until then, keep experimenting, keep refining those habits. And remember, you have the power to create the life you want.
As James Clear says, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. So go out there and make it happen.
See you next week for the grand finale.